Well, good evening, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. I think it's very appropriate that we're celebrating Paul Giamatti this evening on Valentine's Day, because did you guys know what his middle name is? Paul Valentine Giamatti. Woo! So it was meant to be, gang. You're in for an amazing evening. I love this man. I love his career. I love The Holdovers. And I love Sideways. Please allow me to give a warm thank you to our sponsors, the Manitou Fund, presenting sponsors, and the board of directors of the Santa Barbara Film Festival. Thank you for all you do. And this is going to be an incredible evening because you're in amazing hands. Please give a warm welcome to Scott Feinberg. He's the executive editor of The Hollywood Reporter, host of its awards chatter, and my brother from another mother. Actually, he has spent a few Christmases and New Year's with my mother and myself and Dan, my husband. So yes, we are like family. Oh, there he is. I love you, Scott. Have fun.
Thank you, Roger, and good evening, everyone. I mentioned to Roger the other night that I've been coming to this festival every year since 2009 and moderating tributes at it every year since 2012, and I am just always so thrilled to be here because A, it's Santa Barbara, B, it's the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, and C, Roger always facilitates a really cool opportunity to sit down in front of all of you with someone who is being honored by the festival, who is, and that's basically synonymous with being someone pretty extraordinary, and tonight is certainly no exception. Paul Giamatti is one of the great screen actors of our time. He has been described by the New York Times as the kind of actor whom directors rely on, if not to open a movie, then to bring it home. Always pleasant to spend time with, and in an age of stars and would-be stars, a true character actor who can play drama, comedy, or romance. The Guardian called him one of the most interesting figures in American cinema. Strand Magazine noted that he possesses such striking presence and versatility that he elevates each character he inhabits into something completely unique and unforgettable, propelling some productions to timeless classics along the way. And Alexander Payne, who directed him in two of his most memorable films, 2004 Sideways and 2023's The Holdovers, has said, quote, "I can't really begin to tell you how good an actor he is. He is a huge star who is so watchable, charming, and charismatic. He's a bit of a freak," close quote. Tonight, we are going to take a leisurely stroll through his entire life and career, but first, let's take a look at a montage of his work put together by the great Mike McGee. Paul Giamatti.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you. That was lovely. I had forgotten about a lot of those movies. Boy, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Thank you for being here. And
my pleasure.
I want to begin by asking, can we offer you any Merlot?
Sure, why not? I'd love to have a glass of wine right now.
Can we begin by talking about where you were born and raised? Because I know that in addition to myself, there's a contingent of fans of yours from that very place who are with us tonight.
New Haven, Connecticut?
That's right.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing out here?
They're here to see you. Come on.
Really?
Yeah.
You came all the way from New Haven, Connecticut. Right on. New Haven is a very special place. It's an interesting, particular place.
What's your preferred pizzeria there?
Pepe's Pizza.
Okay.
Did that go over with everybody from New Haven, or some people might disagree? Okay.
How does it compare with In-N-Out?
That's a tough question, man. I'll tell you, In-N-Out's pretty good, I gotta say, yeah.
Now, in all seriousness, the reason you were born in New Haven, Connecticut was, can you share it? I believe was that already where your parents were working?
Yes, my father was teaching at Yale University, yeah. My brother and sister were born in Princeton, New Jersey, which is where my father was teaching before. And then I guess he was like, Princeton ain't good enough. I'm going to Yale. So he went to New Haven, yeah.
So you go to a school not unlike the one in the holdovers, Choate.
High school, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then eventually to Yale yourself. Studying what? What did you think at that point, pre-graduation from undergrad, what did you think you were going to be doing with your life?
I actually went, you want to know what I was studying when I first went to Yale? Okay, I'll tell you. I was an anthropology major when I first went. Oh, look at a room full of anthropology majors, who knew? But here's what I was really interested in, and I'm serious about this. I was interested in primate anthropology.
Okay.
I was interested in studying gorillas, was what I wanted to do. And then I had to take a statistics class, and I quickly realized I didn't want to study gorillas anymore. Because I had to do math. And then I switched to a fine arts major, and I was going to draw. And then I realized I was not really that good at that. And then I was an English major. Yeah.
Very good. So you graduated in 1989, and a few months later there was a tragedy in the family that you have said really is directly related to the path that you've taken since then, where you could have continued towards being an English major or other things, but you did not.
Gorillas.
Yes, primates, whatever. Can you share why you ended up pursuing acting?
Well, I'd always loved to act, and I acted extracurricularly in college. My father died very suddenly, very young, and he was 51, out of the blue. And I think that impelled me towards doing what I really loved to do, because he also always said that. Do what you love to do, if you can. And so, yeah, I think that his death really kind of impelled me to pursue acting, yeah.
And that meant going for a few years to Seattle.
That's right.
Theater, but also your first film roles, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of work to be had in Seattle, all kinds of work, yeah.
And then back to Yale.
Yes.
For the School of Drama.
To the School of Drama, yes.
And it's interesting because obviously as elite a place as you could go to study, a place that you knew from before, and yet you've said the word that always comes up when you talk about your time there was that you found it a bit confining. What did that mean?
I mean, it was great. It was really terrific. And it was important, I think, for me to feel confined in some ways. I got a lot of discipline there, which I didn't have a hell of a lot of, as witnessed by my wanting to be a gorilla studying guy and then draw and then be an English major. I didn't have a whole lot of discipline in my life. So I think it was a good thing. But I also, after a while, it felt very straitjacketing a little bit. And I wanted to kind of, I mean, it's a big part of my life and my acting life is a feeling of wanting to bust out a lot, you know?
And at Yale, there was a lot of kind of Shakespeare and stuff that...
Sure, which takes a lot of discipline. It was great stuff, yeah.
So these first few film roles that came out of Seattle were you know, small parts, right? You're initially popping up on... I think it was NYPD Blue.
That was after drama school.
Even after, right?
That was after drama school, yeah.
This is, you know, and this is not to make light of these. These are parts that somebody's going to play, but
absolutely.
Like Man in a Sleeping Bag or different small parts in higher profile projects.
I think one of the first things I did was Heckler number 2 in a TV movie. Not 1, 2. Heckler number 2. So I did a lot of things like that in Seattle and then after school. I was doing theater mostly, and then I would do stuff like that. I did a lot of stuff like that.
And as you were now dipping your toe into screen acting, doing this stuff for this was the beginning of the screen acting period of your life. You've said you kind of found, and especially with the benefit of hindsight of the more larger roles that you've played in future years, that in some ways those early days, that's even harder.
Definitely. I mean, those small roles like that, I think, are the hardest. It's all hard. Acting, all of it's hard. And the big roles are obviously, you have a big load to carry. But those things when you have to come in and you have 1 or 2 lines, you have 1 word, or you come in and you have to cry in 1 scene, things like that, it's brutal, actually. It's very hard, because also nobody cares. They want you to come in and do it and get out. Yeah. They don't, so you learn to be, I'm talking about discipline, you know, and that feels confining in its way, but it's a remarkable training ground. You know, you really get good because you have to be, you know?
So by the mid-90s, you are starting to get parts that are a step or 2 up from those initial, you know, day jobs or whatever. Sure. And let's just note what 2 of the early ones are, where this is the opposite of the thing that you felt, I think, at Yale. Here you could go a little crazy as Pig Vomit, Howard Stern's frustrated and explosive boss at WNBC in New York, in Betty Thomas's Private Parts. And Limbo, this comes back to our primate anthropology.
Yes.
Limbo, a human slave trading orangutan.
That's right.
In Tim Burton's remake.
I was really disappointed I couldn't play a gorilla. I was really disappointed. I'm not kidding. I was like, I can't be a gorilla, why not? And they were like, you look more like an orangutan. Okay.
But though anyone who ever, you know, kind of poo-poos some of those roles, you were having a ball, right?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Pig Vomit was a fantastic, Pig Vomit. Pig Vomit. So you're talking, so it's like Hamlet, Pig Vomit. Right. When I played Pig Vomit, Pig Vomit is a great part, though. Yeah. It was a fantastic role. And I can remember my agents were like, really? You really want to do the Howard Stern movie? And I was like, 100%. It was a great script and a great character. And the talking monkey was fantastic. I mean, I loved doing covered in the makeup and getting to be all ridiculous and monkey-like, and it was great.
Well, to that end, let's take a look at our first 2 clips.
Oh, okay.
Paul Giamatti in
right on.
Private Parts and The Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So, in the years very soon after that, I mean, Planet of the Apes there came out in 2001. That, I believe, was the same year that you first heard about a project called American Splendor, which was made by, let's set it up by saying, Harvey Pekar, the eccentric writer of underground comics, sort of in the universe of the animation that you had been interested in, directed by Robert Pulcini and Sherry Springer Berman, who came from the world of documentaries. So this was sort of a crazy hybrid idea they had of animation and documentary and all kinds of things. Can you share how you first heard about that? Because I've heard, I believe it was affected by 9/11, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a kind of long story, but I got the script and I thought, oh my God, this is great, and I'd love to play this guy. But at that point, you know, I played Pig Vomit and a talking orangutan. I don't think people were like, people weren't exactly knocking down my door. But so I got to go in for it, but it was a bunch of namey guys were doing it, and they didn't want me to audition for it because that was going to look bad, you know, because these other guys are just going to take it on an offer. And I went in and met the directors, and they were lamenting that they couldn't have somebody audition for it because they had to know whether you could sort of, impersonate these people who were going to be in the movie, because Harvey was going to be in the movie. You were going to see me and him together. And so I said, I'll audition for you, and I did. And they really liked what I did. And the audition was September 10th, 2001. And all that happened, and then a couple months later, they came back and said, you know, they do want to make that movie, but none of those named guys want to work right now. And you're the only person who auditioned for it, and they really liked what you did. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so we went off and made it in about 2.5 weeks, that movie. And it was an HBO movie, which is the really crazy thing. That movie was supposed to be on HBO television, which is very strange. So it was a bizarre fluke that I ended up.
And then it went, what was it? It went to a film festival and got.
It went to Sundance and won the awards,
So
and
they
everybody went
decided,
crazy for it.
yeah.
Which was totally, none of us saw coming.
Well, particularly they went crazy for your performance, and Robert and Sherry spoke about it as, during sort of this time of the year of that year, 21 years ago, that, they wanted this to be your Marty, in the sense that Ernest Borgnine, this great character actor, finally got a leading role. This was your first leading role in a film, and it changed his life. He ended up winning the Oscar. In this case, the recognition didn't come right away, but it changed some things.
The movie got nominated for a screenplay.
Right.
For an Academy Award for the screenplay, but yeah.
But, I guess, did you feel a bounce? Did things come out of American Splendor specifically?
There wasn't a whole heck of a lot, no. And I remembered being like, oh, okay, well, that was fun, and I'm glad I did that. And I kind of did think that might be and I remembered at the time thinking, this is probably the first and last time I'll get a lead like this. And I thought, that's cool, that's great. If that's what I get, that's it. There were sort of little things came along, not much, and I remember there was a little bit of a fallow period there. And then I got to audition for Alexander Payne. Yeah.
And that's Sideways, of course. And
but I didn't expect that to go anywhere. I really.
Well, I want to quote something you said about that. But first, I mean, if there's anyone in Santa Barbara who hasn't seen Sideways yet, you might want to get on that.
I'd leave. Go to New Haven. Move to New Haven.
Right. Exactly. But I will preface. I think you'll sense the enthusiasm here that this is a movie I loved so much. I saw more than any other movie, more times in a theater than any other movie. I think I mentioned to you once before that I tried to track down the 1961 Chateau Cheval Blanc bottle of wine. It was too expensive, but I was able to buy a used bottle of it.
Used? You mean like
bottle.
empty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is such a special movie, and I wonder, a lot of it shot near here. A lot of it was a big boost for the wine community here,
Yeah,
minus the Merlot folks.
Yeah, the Merlot folks took a hit. Yeah.
But this started. Did you know Alexander Payne before Sideways?
Oh, no. No, I went in and it was a standard sort of audition. I got sides. I didn't read the script. They just sent me a scene. I don't even really remember what scene it was. It was a scene with the character that Tom ended up playing. And no, it was just an audition like any other audition. And I went in and I thought, I was excited to meet him because Election was a movie I really loved. And I thought, well, and again, I was like, this is cool. I met that guy, that's cool. And that was good, and I expected nothing to come of it.
And part of the reason you didn't expect nothing to come of it was to quote you, when I read the script, I thought, this is great, but who the fuck cares about wine? Close quote.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was like, what else going to want to see this? I mean, eventually when I did read the script, I thought, oh, wow, that's interesting. Wine, okay. But, it shows what I know.
So you end up paired with Thomas Hayden Church, even though apparently George Clooney and Brad Pitt had expressed interest in playing the part that I think Thomas played, right? Or was it to play both of them?
I don't remember, yeah.
And you and Church are obviously playing these very different but very close friends who are taking this big trip before he gets married. And I wonder, did you and he do anything to kind of cultivate that relationship before you had to play it on screen?
They said to me, is it all right if Tom gives you a call? And I said, sure. And you really have to know Tom. And I was like, sure. And the phone rang, and he's sort of like, hey, Paul, how are you? And he gets on, I go, great. And we talked for 5 hours on the phone. 5 hours. And we had a great time. We hit it off so well and hung out a lot. together before we started shooting and really palled around quite a bit. He's a very interesting guy. Tom. He's an extremely interesting dude. And so we had a really good time together.
Now, the most beautiful,
True.
I would submit that, and I believe I'm in good company. I think Mike Nichols felt the same way, and a lot of people, that the most beautiful scene in this movie is one involving you and one Virginia Madsen,
Yes.
talking about
Yes.
the types of wines you love, but really about yourselves. And I wonder if you can, I mean, it's just a kind of perfect, if people are, I think people should study it specifically. What was it, did you realize going into it that it was something really special, and what do you remember about doing it?
It was a very special, I mean, yes, the writing was beautiful. I think what's really great about the scene is she knows what they're talking about. He doesn't. He doesn't really get it until a beat later than her, that he's like, oh, I see what we're doing here. She's amazing in that scene. I think people should study her in that scene. She's really incredible in it. It is one of the most perfectly, beautifully landed and placed monologues in anything you'll ever see. And the shooting of it was very, very, Alexander creates these beautifully intimate, quiet, kind of warm sets. And I remember that was at night. We were sitting out on that porch, and everybody was drinking wine around us. We weren't drinking wine yet. We did later. But it felt like what you see there. It really did. And that's the thing about his movies. What you're seeing is what it felt like when we did it. It's amazing, amazing process.
And that movie is celebrating its 20th anniversary
20
this year.
years, yeah, 20 years, yeah.
I think you got levels of love in response to that performance that you had probably not felt prior to that. Right?
Ever, from anybody ever, yes.
Yeah. And yet, you said, quote, I've never felt like I actually got that part right. I always felt like I was too serious or something, close quote. You're saying going into the release of this movie, which became a runaway, unexpected box office hit, got nominated for the Best Picture Oscar, a zillion things, you did not know that it was something really special?
Well, I thought the movie was very special. I think I knew the movie was going to be great, and it was good. I didn't know people were going to respond to it the way they did. My own performance, I hardly have ever felt like I've gotten it right, which is why I think I keep doing it, because one day I'm going to get it right. And it's one of these days I'm going to get it right. And so I almost never look at something and go, yeah, nailed it. I nailed it. You know, very rarely have I ever felt I was close to nailing something. Wow. And I just didn't with that. I still am like, I wish I could go back and do it again.
You nailed it.
Nailed it.
So let's take a look now at clips from American Splendor and my favorite movie, Sideways. Cool. Sideways changed things in a lot of ways, I would think. Can you share what's been different since Sideways?
Well, yeah, it changed everything. I mean, it was, the parts I got were different, and I think people's reaction to me was different, you know? I mean, American Splendor was one thing, but it was a very kind of bizarre character in a lot of ways, as you can see. And this was a more kind of, you know, not standard leading man or something like that, but I think it made people see me differently. The parts got different. And in an interesting way, a lot of the supporting parts got more interesting. You know, I got a kind of wider range of interesting supporting parts. But I think it was that people's attitude towards me changed a little bit.
And I believe that was the end of auditioning.
Yeah, I never had to audition anymore after that.
Right.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing. Sometimes I miss it, actually.
Yeah,
in a weird way, sometimes I miss it. Because it felt like an important part of the process sometimes. It's gone. Yeah, it's interesting.
So you mentioned kind of real choice supporting roles, and I think one that may have come about because of Sideways would have been the role of Joe Gould, the trainer of boxer gentleman Jim Braddock, played by Russell Crowe during his Depression-era heyday in Ron Howard's Cinderella Man. Comes out the year after Sideways. And this time, I think there was some sort of a delayed reaction to appreciating you for Sideways. Now you win the SAG Award for Cinderella Man. You get the Oscar nomination for Cinderella Man. People are starting to catch up to the party. And I guess I wonder if you can just talk about that role, working with Ron Howard's directing, Russell Crowe at his height, Renee Zellweger. It just goes, that was a big movie.
Yeah, that was a completely different kind of thing. I mean, it was a huge movie. It was humongous, big period piece, period extras and boxing and these crazy scenes and stuff. And I had to sort of learn a lot about boxing. How do I wrap a guy's hands? And I had to do all this stuff. And it was an extraordinary experience. And Russell he is a master of what he does, and he was great to work with. You know, I mean, we played buddies in it, so we became buddies in it. But it was an intense ride. It was a wonderful character, really, really colorful, fun character, sort of different from the Sideways guy completely. You know, he's a really ebullient, can't keep him down, kind of cock of the walk guy. It was really fun to do.
A year after that, there were several roles that you played, but the first one that I want to bring up is a guy named Cleveland Heap, which is quite a name.
Wow, there you go. There's the person that's seen that movie.
This is a doctor who becomes an apartment building superintendent after his wife and children are murdered, who now tries to save a water nymph in M. Night Shyamalan's Lady in the Water.
One person.
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay. It's another guy. No.
Now, this was apparently
this
a story that M. Night Shyamalan had been telling his children as a fairy tale, which must have led to expensive therapy bills. How did he pitch this to you, and what did you make of the role and working with him? He's kind of a character in this business.
He's a character. He sent me I loved his other movies, particularly Unbreakable, which I think is really great. So he sent me the script, and I was like, this is interesting. This is very interesting. And I was excited to do it with him. And he has his own little world there in Philadelphia that you go and enter and you work in. And I always say about him, he is the best host on a set that I've ever. He creates such a wonderful atmosphere, and you just feel so special. And it's like everything is perfect, and everything's clockwork, and he's terrific. It's an eccentric movie. Yep. It definitely is, but I kind of love it. It reaches for stuff. I don't know if it grabs them all the time, but it reaches, and it does some weird stuff, and it really, I think it's kind of a ballsy, weird movie, actually.
Absolutely. So,
cheer for ballsy, weird movies, yeah.
Our next two clips are going to be Paul's first Oscar-nominated performance. This was 18 years ago in Cinderella Man, and then Lady in the Water.
Cool.
Beautiful scene. Now, that was 2006. Also in 2006 was a movie that you have said, if I recall, is your favorite of all the roles that you have played. This is Chief Inspector Yule, a brilliant German inspector in Neil Berger's The Illusionist. Why? It's a great movie.
Yeah.
What makes that so high on your list?
I think even more than playing a talking orangutan, what I always wanted to play was a detective in something. And I get to play this Austro-Hungarian, chief of the Austro-Hungarian secret police in this movie. So I had a hat and a pipe and black gloves and a German accent, and I was in horses and carriages and gaslight and stuff. I loved playing that part. And I think the movie is odd and fun and really a strange, interesting movie. So, you know.
It's great.
Yeah, I love it. I just love doing it.
Pretty soon after that, I think you must have gone to work on what was maybe, the biggest part that you'd ever bitten off, just in terms of workload, and that is you deciding to do what sort of, you were at you're getting the Cinema Vanguard Award tonight. This was at the vanguard of people realizing that it was cool to go do long-form television as you went to play John Adams in Tom Hooper's HBO 7-part limited series of the same name. Now, you were a bit skeptical, as I recall. People are going to want to spend 9 hours with a misanthropic, manic-depressive historical figure. Yeah. And yet, highest watched program on HBO in 4 years. Yeah. You win a let me get the full list here. It's just SAG, Golden Globe, and Emmy Awards. Couldn't have gone much better. So what made you decide to take that leap, and what'd you make of it?
I think it was a thing. I got the script, and it was like 2 phone books stacked up on each other. And I was like, holy crap. And I read it, and I said to them, this is 9 hours of a guy who's a humongous pain in the ass. And I said, I'm going to play him like a pain in the ass, too, if I do this. And they were like, eh. And I was very, very wary about it because the sheer volume of it was really daunting, let alone everything else about it. It was just the amount of what I was going to have to do. And it was one of those things where I once got the opportunity to play Hamlet, but I'd been asked by this guy to play it for years. And when I finally said yes, the 4th or 5th time he'd asked me, I was like 47 years old. And I was like, why the fuck did I wait so long? What an idiot, I should have done this before. And it was a similar thing with this. So I was like, what am I doing? I have to do this. Nothing like this will ever come along again. And nothing has. I mean, there's nothing else. I've never done anything like it again and never will. It was a crazy undertaking.
That's what I was gonna ask you. I mean, you worked on 106 days of a 108-day shoot.
I had 1 day off, yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Is it something, I guess that kind of answers the question that long form, I mean, because people since 2008, people who established themselves in movies, as you have increasingly opted to go to TV. Part of that, I think, is that movies, the mid-range budget movies are evaporating and becoming TV series and limited series. But does TV still appeal to you?
Yeah, sure, it does. I mean, this was unusual because this was when they still called this a mini-series.
Yeah, right.
This wasn't a limited series yet. Nobody was calling it that yet. So it was still thought of as something very unusual and different. And no, TV, absolutely. I mean, I always was interested in doing TV. I just didn't have a whole lot of people ask me to do it. And so this was cool. I was like, you're going to do a biopic, you're going to do an historical piece about this period. It needs to be 9-10 hours long. You know, so it was a great opportunity. I mean, you know, there was no reason, well, there were a lot of reasons not to do it. It was crazy to do it, but I had to do it, you know, so I don't know.
The year after that, you play Tolstoy's secretary in Michael Hoffman's Last Station, Christopher Plummer, Helen Mirren, you know, giants. And then the year after that, you show up at the Toronto International Film Festival in one of the odder, stranger movies I've seen, but really you were incredible. Barney Panofsky, a thrice-married TV producer, reflecting on his roller coaster life in Richard J. Lewis's Barney's version, an adaptation of the Canadian novelist Mordecai Rickler's novel. You have Dustin Hoffman as your dad. You've got 3 different wives in there, Rosamund Pike, Minnie Driver among them. You age backwards and forwards in over 3 decades. It's pretty out there. You won a Golden Globe, so the people who saw it really liked it, but this was... Talk about Barney Panofsky.
Not a lot of people saw it, no. It was big in Canada, and it was big in Italy. It's got to be one of the only Canadian-Italian co-productions that's ever been trotted out. It's a great movie. It's a really epic movie. It's based on this really beloved Canadian novel. In Canada, it was a huge deal, and I was like kind of nervous about it. I'm like, you're hiring an American to play this very kind of iconic Canadian character, and for some reason, it's beloved in Italy. I don't know why. And so we went and shot some of it in Italy, too. I loved doing it. It's a fantastic character.
I mean, all the things I started to talk about, just age range that you have to play this guy, all of it. It must have been a challenge.
No, it was great, and he develops dementia and stuff like that, and he's got all the wives, and Dustin Hoffman was there. I mean, it was bananas, the whole thing. So it was a good time. That was a big undertaking as well. Yeah, I had a lot to do in that. Yeah.
So we're gonna look at a clip from Paul's favorite of his roles in The Illusionist, and then a clip from Barney's version.
Cool.
I think it's a testament to the projects you picked that it's not very easy to summarize some of these characters. So I'm going to mention another that you'll bear with me during the wind-up. In 2011, Win-Win, a movie directed by Tom McCarthy, who would then do Spotlight. You played Mike Flaherty, a struggling lawyer and part-time high school wrestling coach who convinces a judge to make him the guardian of an elderly client who is falling into dementia. And this man who you play then puts that man in a nursing home while still collecting the monthly stipend for caring for him. Right. And you then are visited by a 16-year-old grandson of that man. Now, the writer, Steve Tessick, the director, Tom McCarthy, and yourself shared one thing in common, at least one thing in common, which is that you had all been wrestlers yourself.
Yeah, I'm a high school wrestling coach in it too. And so a lot of the movie centers around wrestling. Yeah, those two guys really wrestled. I did it for one semester and learned very quickly that this was a huge mistake. I mean, all of it was just a nightmare, you know, getting beaten up and then having to lose weight and stuff. And I was like, this is for the birds. So I went and joined the swimming team. Because I was like, I'm going to go float in a pool. And like, I'm not doing this getting beaten up crap anymore. No, I'm not. This is not good with me.
Now, going back fictionally into the wrestling world with Tom, who is also an actor. He had been, I think, The Wire.
Great actor.
And in fact, you guys went to school together, right?
Yeah, he went for acting. We went to the drama school together.
Drama school.
Yeah.
So being directed by a fellow actor generally in this, or specifically in this case, Tom, does that bring out anything different in you?
Probably. I mean, I think you maybe relax around them a little bit differently. They also, the really great thing, I remember I worked with George Clooney, and he directed a movie I was in too called The Ides of March. What they really do is they anticipate what's going to be tricky. They'll say, you know, I know this is going to be hard, or that they can just see ahead. They think the way an actor does, going, that scene's going to be tricky. How am I going to do, blah, blah, blah. So they'll say, well, let's work on this beforehand. Let's get all this straight. You know, whereas a lot of the time people are just throwing things at the actor and throwing them into a situation. Actor directors, they can anticipate the problems you're going to run into in a nice way.
Well, interestingly enough, the Ides of March, which you mentioned, was that same year, and you are playing the manager of the campaign opposing the campaign of George Clooney's candidate that's run by Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ryan Gosling. And I've always sort of thought that your career and Philip Seymour Hoffman's career, there are similarities, there are parallels, and just bottom line, two great actors who have unbelievable versatility. This month marks 10 years since his passing. Yeah. I wonder, you know, when you guys are both in this movie together, did you get a chance to exchange notes and get to know each other?
I knew Phil for a long time. I didn't know him well, but frequently as an actor, you have another person, you get kind of twinned with them as you come up. And you go in on the same parts. He and I did that for a long time. You'd get a part, he'd get a part, you know, it would go back and forth for years. So I knew him for years. And we would trade things off. And at a certain point, his greatness became pretty evident. And he moved into another realm because he was an extraordinary actor. And I did get to know him well, and he was a beautiful, amazing guy. And I think about him, and I think everybody that knew him, we think about him a lot. I don't know why, but I frequently will think about what would he think? What would he do? He was a beautiful, beautiful soul, and he was an incredible actor. And I felt kind of privileged to be sort of weirdly doubled with him for so many years. And we finally got to do that, which I think we exchanged 2 lines with each other in that movie. But we got to hang out a lot when we promoted the movie, which was really, really great.
Nice. So 2011 for you was Win-Win, The Ides of March, and then another project for HBO that brought a lot of acclaim and a SAG award. This was playing Ben Bernanke in the late Curtis Hansen's Too Big to Fail, a TV movie for HBO about the 2008 economic crisis. You, just to talk about range, right after that, you're Ralph the chauffeur in Rob Marshall's Saving Mr. Banks, sort of the follow-up to Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And then you show up in a film that ended up winning the Best Picture Oscar. You were Theophilus Freeman, a really despicable slave trader in Steve McQueen's 12
Any
Years
other kind of slave trader? They're all pretty despicable.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I don't think there's any other kind.
But I think that one in particular, we should pause to talk about. It's 10 years ago that it won
Was
the
it really
Oscar.
10 years? Wow.
Yep. And, that's an all-timer. So what was your experience on that?
Well, I remember getting the script for that and thinking that was still one of the most amazing scripts I've ever read, because the language and the way that it captured the sort of tone of those slave narratives and the way it captured something about the period, it was very strange. It's a strange movie because it's a strange thing that happens to that man. It's like, and it's a kind of psychotic Alice in Wonderland thing. It's Kafkaesque. It's like what happens to that man. And the script really captures something quite amazing about it. It was a very intense movie to make. Yes, I had an incredibly despicable character to play. And, I remember Steve McQueen saying to me, "You seem like you're okay playing this guy." I said, "Well, you have to show these guys, that's like, they existed and you got to show them." And it was a pretty intense, I've seen that movie once and I don't know that I could handle seeing it again. Chiwetel Ejiofor is incredible in that movie. What he does at the end of that movie when he's reunited with his family is unbelievable acting. I mean, it is at the highest level. And the choices he makes, that he seems to be kind of ashamed about what he just went through for 12 years, is extraordinary. It's an amazing movie. It's an amazing movie.
Absolutely. Well, totally understand if you need to look away for this, but we are showing 2 clips now, Win-Win and 12 Years a Slave. So one of the odd coincidences, in 2015 you played not one but 2 people screwing musicians out of their living. There was Dr. Eugene Landy, Brian Wilson's manipulative psychologist and guru in Bill Pollad's Love and Mercy.
Nice movie.
And there was Jerry Heller, the Weasley manager of NWA in F. Gary Gray's Straight Outta Compton. I assume this was purely a coincidence?
It was a coincidence. It was a coincidence. Purely a coincidence. Yes. Good Lord, I played a lot of snakes, haven't I? God, man.
That year, you also received an Emmy nomination. You were playing the Ed Begley character, a version of that from 12 Angry Men, in a parody that was part of Inside Amy Schumer. You've spoken very highly of her, and you've said you feel a certain kinship with her. Just since that has really a cult following as well, anything you want to say about that?
Oh, that was a really fun thing to do. I mean, we did this kind of funny 2-day shoot with all these remarkable character actors and comedians in one room. I think the most extraordinary part of that was dealing with Jeff Goldblum for 2 days. Which is like being on acid for 2 days. I mean, I'll never forget that. I mean, that was just fantastic. And so it was, and it was a really brilliantly done thing. It was incredibly well done. It really, really was a lot of fun to do.
Absolutely. Okay, so now this brings us to Richard, a theater director turned artisanal pickle distributor who, with his wife Rachel, is trying to have a baby, but running into every possible obstacle. This is in Tamara Jenkins's private life. You and Kathryn Hahn, and if people haven't seen this movie, first of all, it's a Netflix movie. I think it should be easily findable there. But this was I mean, within the indie film community, it was just tremendously loved, but I think it deserved a bigger following.
I do too. It's a great, great movie. Tamara Jenkins has made 3 movies, I think, in 30 years or something like that, and every one of them is great.
Slums of Beverly Hills.
Slums of Beverly Hills, The Savages with Phil Hoffman and Laura Linney, right. And then this movie, Private Life, which really, it's criminally underseen. It's a great movie, and Catherine Hahn is fantastic in it. And it's such a rich movie. I mean, yes, it's about these people trying to have a kid. It becomes about a lot more in a lot of ways. It's a beautiful, beautiful, I loved making it, yeah. And he's not a snake, this guy.
That's right.
He's not a snake.
That's right.
Yeah, it's nice.
You made a big decision around 2015, 2016 to go to television, but not in a way that you had before with a limited series or a TV movie where it's a kind of finite commitment. But here, this is for a drama series on Showtime called Billions. You play Chuck Rhodes.
Back to playing snakes.
That's right, back to playing snakes. Kind of a Elliot Spitzer-like DA or U.S. attorney, particularly fixated on a corrupt hedge fund billionaire.
Yeah.
This went on in 2016, ran for 7 seasons, 84 episodes, right through last year, 2023.
Yep.
Talk about the decision. I imagine usually you're signing your life away for up to 7 years when you do a drama series.
You don't know that, you know? You don't know that at first. I had never done something like this. You don't know it. You signed for a few years, and then I don't think anybody knew that was going to go on. And the 2 guys, Brian Koppelman and David Levine, who created it, the showrunners, I don't think they knew it was going to catch fire the way it did. It took everybody by surprise. And it really just kept going, man. It was a great show. You know, a lot of people who've done a lot of television, other people I know would say, you're really lucky because the writing on that show was constantly engaging as an actor, whereas I think the writing on a lot of TV shows can begin to sort of get flat, and you can sort of, but it was always juicy, and it really, like, you could get a hold of it, and the plot was constantly changing, and so it was a lot of fun. It was a strange character to play for that long, but it was
just watch the pilot. It starts there.
Yeah. The S&M stuff was great. I enjoyed doing the S&M stuff. I mean, I actually did. I was a little disappointed when they got rid of it. I was like, where'd the S&M stuff go? And I had a good time. I had a good time doing it. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was real interesting, and fun stuff to do with Maggie, and yeah, it's an interesting world, yeah.
All right, so this brings us to 2023 and the part that has been resulting in a lot of celebration, deservedly so, of Paul Giamatti lately, and that is The Holdovers. Back with Alexander Payne. Playing Paul Hunnam, this cranky boarding school teacher who is made even more cranky by having to spend the 1970 holiday break with on campus with a grieved student and a grieving cafeteria worker, played respectively by Dominic Sessa, who had never acted in a film before.
Never been on film in his life.
And Davine Joy Randolph, who is, like you, just getting a lot of love at the moment.
Amazing. She's amazing. Amazing.
So Alexander Payne originally intended, I believe for his first film after Sideways, to be Downsizing.
Yes.
And there were
wanted me to do that.
Yes.
Yes, he did. Yes, and then the budget for that movie was such that it was fiscally irresponsible to cast me. So they went with Matt Damon.
Which...
That's what you do. When you can't get me, Damon's phone just rings off the hook.
So in the intervening 19 years between Sideways and Holdovers, were you guys in touch? Were you
we were
talking
friends.
about other things?
Yeah, we were friends, and we talked about other things. We've talked a lot for years, and I keep mentioning it because I want to manifest it in the world. We keep talking about doing a private detective thing. Yeah, because Alexander says he wants to see me get beat up and shot at a lot, which I think, I don't know, that sounds good to me. And so there's other things, and then we tried to do this a couple times, and it scheduling-wise didn't work out because he was absolutely bound to determine that it would be in the dead of winter and we would have real snow, which we did. We ended up with real snow. There's no fake snow in this movie, which is a big deal. It is. So you can feel the difference with the fake snow. You can tell, but this is real snow in this movie, all of it.
Now, you get a script, I guess, or maybe he'd been telling you verbally about this as he was writing it, but it was written for you, this guy, right?
That's what he says, yes. It was written for me, yes.
Now, how did you, would you share for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, perhaps a logline of who this guy is?
He is a embittered classics teacher at a boys' school who smells like fish and has an eye issue, and he's not terribly beloved. And and I love Alexander said something about him that I've loved, really holds true. He's not a nice man, but he's a good man. And that's what I think is, I loved that about the character. He's got all of this armature around him, but he's a good man underneath it all.
And just for the record, the eye issue, which is not, I don't think, specifically addressed in the film, is an homage?
It is an homage to another movie, yeah. The whole thing was inspired by a French movie from the 30s called Merluce, which I gather in French means codfish or something like that. So the kids call the guy, because I think the guy smells like fish in that too.
Yeah.
So that's maybe, I don't know, but he has an eye issue as well. I do want to say about the eye, I do want to mention something about the eye, which is, I've been joking around a lot about not giving it away, and then I kind of felt bad because a remarkable artist named Christina Patterson made that eye. And she makes these eyes for actors, for film and television. She hand paints them, and they're gorgeous little works of art that you wear. And I just feel like she wasn't getting enough credit, and she did an amazing, amazing job. Yeah. And I just want her to be, because she's an artist. She really is an artist. And it's like, and she said my eye color was the hardest to match of any actor she's ever worked with, because my eyes change color on film a lot. Wow. So she nailed it. And that's a lot of the character there in the eye. And so she's a genius anyway.
Well, and she did such a convincing job. I've had a number of people ask what happened to Paul Giamatti's eye.
Yeah, so I have a guy I grew up with since I'm 5 years old who saw the movie, and he said to me afterwards, the first 20 minutes, he was like, my God, have I never noticed the poor guy has a screwed up eye? I was like, what are you, an idiot? You've known me since we were 5. But so it was very convincing. Yeah, very convincing.
So this guy, not nice, but good, as you say. Was there any model for it, whether from your days at Choate or Yale or anywhere where it's sort of these enclosed communities of very intelligent people who might be a little in their own world?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I went to one of those schools. I went to one only about 10 years after the movie takes place. And I had a lot of teachers. It's hard for me to even really parse out all the different things going into this. It's a lifetime of being around people like this. In some ways, it made it very accessible for me. In some ways, it was a little overwhelming to do this sometimes because so many memories were coming back and so many people. There was one guy who was a 10th grade biology teacher who was this kind of, pasty little comb over of a man like this, smelled like an ashtray and gin, and and was a lovely guy. So they're very specific. But other than that, because when I watch the movie, I see it's like this, they say your life flashes before your eyes. I see all of these people manifesting in this performance, and it's almost hard for me to watch sometimes because it's just weird to see my life manifesting in some ways that's really kind of cool in some ways.
I want to just quickly note, I was at a wedding in Washington, D.C. about a week ago, and somebody came up and knew that this event was going to be happening and said, I'd like you to tell Paul Giamatti that his mother was my teacher at Hopkins in New Haven and was the best teacher I ever had and really changed the course of her life. So you've had not only curmudgeon models for being a teacher, but some great teacher models.
No, my parents were not like this guy. My parents were great teachers. And the thing is that they loved, my dad was a professor, and you know, professors like that, they can sort of coast along and write and do whatever, but he loved teaching. And she loved actually being in the room teaching and being with kids. And no, they really meant it. They really meant it, the two of them. And so it's a great thing,
One of the things that Alexander was very committed to with this movie was not only setting it in 1970, but making it feel in every way like it's 1970, from the logo of the studio at the beginning to the film stock or whatever.
He treated the film to make it look like.
It was unbelievable. And I wonder for you, though, you know, being in these period costumes, being in, you know, around props and things that are very of that time. Any of these things particularly helpful, or what was for you the most?
First of all, the weirdest thing is still when I talk about this movie as being a period movie, it freaks me out. So I'm like, I was alive, man. That's not. I'm like, period is like The Illusionist. That's a period movie. John Adams is period. This was my frickin' life, man. I was alive. So that's weird, first of all. But for sure, the movie, all of the textures of those things and, you know, all of the sorts of props and everything. I was very, very fixated on the coat and the clothes, and I became obsessed with and insistent on that I get one of those duffel toggle button coats that I wear in this thing, because that's what I remember all of those academic friends of my father's wearing. Because I was like, I gotta have that nerdy frickin' coat to wear, and the hat and stuff like that, the pipe smoke. But everywhere you looked, the production design, and we were in real locations too. Everywhere you looked, everything you touched was the real McCoy. And so that's, you know, that's extraordinary. And Massachusetts, North Central Massachusetts, it's still 1974 in North Central. And I say that having a family from North Central Massachusetts. I'm like, right? It's the 70s still in there in a lot of ways. And so you get that feeling, and that's, you know, that's wonderful. It gives you everything,
The other, so, you know, people calling it a period movie is one label that's gone on. Another is a Christmas movie. Do you accept that this will be a, you know, is it an appropriate label to say this will be a Christmas season movie?
Absolutely. I get kind of like, I get a little bit like, people are like, don't say it's a Christmas movie. And I'm like, it's a Christmas movie. None of this would happen in this movie if it wasn't Christmas. I mean, not just the fact that they get stuck there and it's snowing. What happens to the people in the movie is because it's Christmas. You know, what happens to the man in the end who commits this true act of selflessness is because it's Christmas. You know, it's an integral part of it. I think it's an incredibly important part of it. I think people think, oh, Christmas movie means Santa Claus has got to be in it or something. And it's like, no, this is like It's a Wonderful Life kind of Christmas movie.
Absolutely.
You know, it's something deeper. Nothing wrong with Santa Claus in Christmas movies, but you know.
One last question from me. For this performance, you have already won the Best Actor National Board of Review Award, the Best Musical Comedy Actor Golden Globe Award, the Best Actor Critics' Choice Award, and you are nominated for the Best Actor SAG Award, the Best Actor BAFTA Award, and the Best Actor Academy Award. What have you made of the last few months where all of us finally, you know, it's sort of, I feel like there's always been a lot of love for you, but it's not always necessarily something you can quantify or point to. This kind of allows us to show it.
It's hard to know what to feel a lot of the time. You know, it's an extraordinary thing. I'm really happy that people love the movie so much. You know, that really is the most important thing to me, is that people have embraced this movie so much. It means a lot. You know, I mean, I said to somebody, after I got nominated, and, you know, people said, what does it feel like? And it's an affirmation that got a lot of meaning. I mean, you know, I said, I feel like maybe I did the right thing with my life. And that's the nicest thing about it. That's like, I did the right thing, and what I do seems to matter to people. Because it's hard to always keep that in mind. As an actor, you can lose sight of both of those things. Why did I do this, and what does it matter? And it's been nice to feel that I did it, and it matters. So that's really nice. That's really nice.
We are going to look at our last two clips, and then we have a big finish. So.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, wow. All right.
Let's take a look at Private Life and The Holdovers.
Cool.
It is now very cool for me to be able to welcome another of the core four from Sideways. She is a fellow Oscar-nominated actress, and she shared that incredible all-time scene that we talked about earlier. Please welcome, to present Paul with his award, the great Virginia Madsen.
Amazing.
Is this thing on? Well, I have to start by saying, it seems like I'm echoing. Is it all right? Is the sound all right? Okay. What is a vanguard? A vanguard is someone who stands at the forefront and inspires us by remarkable deeds. And you are known as the actor's actor because there's a mastery in what you do, and you honor the writers, directors, and filmmakers that you work with because you illuminate what they've done and you bring it to life. And as for me, I will always drown in your eyes. So please accept, on behalf of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, this really, really cool looking award. The Vanguard.
Thank you. Thank you. It's amazing. Yeah, this is like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's really nice to get this from the hands of Ms. Madsen, and it's really nice to get it here, because we left a little piece of our heart and soul in this place, right? And so it's really kind of a sweet thing to be able to do it. So thank you. So thank you. Thank you very much. I've talked enough. I've palavered enough. I think you've heard enough from me. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, man. Thank you.